My firefighter boyfriend promised me a surprise tonight. I wasn't ready. Broken fire. The apartment felt emptier than usual that evening. I stood by the window of our third-floor walk-up, watching the city lights flicker to life as dusk settled over the streets below. My phone buzzed in my pocket, another message from Jake. Jake asterisk still on for tonight, 7 p.m. Don't be late, I have something important to tell you. My heart did that familiar flutter it always did when I thought about him. Jake Martinez, my boyfriend of 2 years, was everything I'd never known I needed. Strong, compassionate, brave, the kind of man who ran into burning buildings while everyone else ran out. But lately something had shifted between us, a tension I couldn't quite name. I glanced at the clock, 6:15 p.m. I had 45 minutes to shower, change, and mentally prepare myself for whatever surprise he had planned. Part of me hoped it would be something simple, a nice dinner reservation, maybe tickets to that play I'd mentioned wanting to see. But another part of me, the part that had noticed him taking late-night phone calls and coming home with that faraway look in his eyes, feared something else entirely. The hot water helped ease the knot of anxiety in my shoulders. I let it run over me, steam filling the small bathroom as I tried to organize my thoughts. Jake had been working doubles at the firehouse for the past month, picking up extra shifts. When I asked him about it, he'd just smile that crooked smile of his and say he was saving up for something special. I'd assumed he meant a vacation, maybe that trip to Costa Rica we'd been dreaming about. Now I wasn't so sure. I dressed carefully, choosing the navy button-down he loved, the one he said made my eyes look like the ocean. As I fastened the buttons, I caught my reflection in the mirror. At 32, I still looked young, though the last few weeks had added shadows under my eyes that concealed didn't quite hide. My dark hair needed a trim, and I made a mental note to book an appointment. My phone buzzed again. Jake asterisk I'm already here, table in the back. Already there? It was only 6:45. My stomach tightened. Jake was never early. He was a 5 minutes late is basically on time kind of guy. Whatever this was, it was serious. Giacomo's Italian restaurant was our place, the spot where we'd had our first date, where Jake had told me he loved me for the first time over tiramisu and red wine. The hostess recognized me immediately and gestured toward the back corner, her smile somehow sympathetic in a way that made my anxiety spike. And then I saw him. Jake sat at our usual table, the candlelight casting shadows across his strong features. He'd shaved, put on the charcoal gray suit I'd bought him for his sister's wedding. His dark hair was neatly combed, his hands folded on the white tablecloth. But it was his eyes that stopped me in my tracks. Those warm brown eyes that usually sparkled with mischief were serious, almost sad. "Hey babe," he said, standing as I approached. He pulled out my chair, his hand briefly touching my shoulder. The contact sent electricity through me the way it always did. "You look formal," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "Should I be worried?" He didn't laugh. That's when I knew for certain that my world was about to change. "Marcus," he began, and my heart sank. He only used my full name when things were serious. Usually I was Mark or Baby, or occasionally my favorite pain in the ass when I'd reorganized his tools without asking. "Just tell me," I said quietly. "Whatever it is, just say it." He reached across the table and took my hand. His palms were calloused from years of working with equipment, warm and familiar. I held on tighter than I meant to. "I got accepted," he said. I blinked. Accepted to what? "The interagency hotshot crew, wildland firefighting. It's what I've always wanted. The training program starts in 6 weeks, in Montana." The words hit me like physical blows. Montana, 6 weeks. Wildland firefighting, the most dangerous, demanding work in the fire service. Crews that deployed for months at a time, fighting massive forest fires in the wilderness, sleeping in tents, working 20-hour days in conditions that killed people. "For how long?" I managed to ask. "The season runs March through October. I'd be gone most of that time, and after this first year, if I do well." He paused, his grip tightening on my hand. "They want me to join permanently, lead my own crew eventually." The restaurant seemed to fade around me. I could hear the clink of silverware, the murmur of other conversations, but it all felt distant, underwater. 7 months gone, every year, for a job that could kill him. "Say something," Jake whispered. I don't know what to say. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. This is your dream." He nodded slowly. "Since I was a kid. My uncle was a hotshot. He used to tell me stories about fighting fires in Yellowstone, saving entire towns. I became a city firefighter because it was the logical step, but Mark, when I'm out there on calls, I always feel like something's missing, like I'm meant for something bigger. Bigger than us, the question came out sharper than I intended. That's not what I meant. But it's what you're saying. I pulled my hand back, immediately regretting it when I saw the hurt flash across his face. You're saying you'd rather spend 7 months in the wilderness risking your life than be here, with me? I'm saying I need to do this, he said firmly. Not instead of us, alongside us. People do long distance all the time. We can make it work: video calls, texts, I'll come home when I can during breaks. Come home, I laughed bitterly. Montana is going to be home. This, I gestured around the restaurant, this is just where you visit between the important stuff. The waiter appeared, asking about drinks, but Jake waved him away without looking at him. His eyes never left mine. You know that's not true, he said. You're the most important thing in my life, Mark, but I can't keep wondering what if. I can't be 50 years old still working at Station 47 thinking about the road I didn't take. I understood. God help me, I understood completely. I'd felt the same way when I'd taken my job as a trauma nurse in the ER, everyone telling me I was crazy, that I'd burn out, that the hours would destroy me. But I'd needed to prove I could handle it, needed to know I was making a difference in the moments that mattered most. How could I ask Jake not to chase his dream when he'd supported mine without hesitation? When did you apply? I asked quietly. He looked down. 8 months ago. 8 months, all those late-night phone calls, the extra shifts to save money, not for our vacation but for his equipment, his training. 8 months of keeping this secret. Of planning a future that might not include me, at least not in the way we'd imagined. Were you ever going to tell me, I asked, or were you just going to wait until they rejected you so you wouldn't have to choose? I told you tonight, he said. I'm telling you now because I choose you, Mark, I choose us, but I'm begging for you to choose us too, choose a version of us that includes this. Our food arrived, neither of us touched it. The pasta sat there, cooling, turning into a congeal mass that matched the feeling in my stomach. I need time, I finally said. It's a lot. I know, he pushed his plate aside and leaned forward. But I need you to know something. That surprise I mentioned, it wasn't just this. I didn't bring you here to break up with you or to deliver bad news. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My breath caught. I brought you here to ask you to marry me. The world tilted. The box sat on the table between us, dark blue velvet against the white cloth. I couldn't look away from it. I know the timing is terrible, Jake continued, his voice rough with emotion. I know I should have led with this instead of the Montana thing, but Mark, I want to marry you. I want you to be my husband. I want to build a life with you, a real life, not just this apartment and our routines. I want Sunday mornings and arguments about whose turn it is to do laundry and coming home to you after the hardest days of my life. You want to marry me, I said slowly, and then leave for Montana for 7 months. I want to marry you and then go chase this dream, knowing you're waiting for me, knowing I have someone to come home to. Someone who understands that love doesn't mean giving up who you are. He opened the box. The ring inside was simple, elegant, a platinum band with a subtle inscription I couldn't read from where I sat. Knowing Jake, it would be something meaningful, something that captured us perfectly. Tears burned my eyes. This isn't fair. I know. You're asking me to say yes to a lifetime while simultaneously saying goodbye. No, he said firmly. I'm asking you to say yes to a lifetime that includes goodbyes and hellos, that includes sacrifice and compromise, that includes both of us being brave enough to support each other's dreams even when it's hard. I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd held me through panic attacks during my worst shifts at the hospital, who'd learned to cook my grandmother's recipes so I wouldn't be homesick, who'd stood up to my father when he'd made ignorant comments at Thanksgiving dinner, who'd showed up at the ER at 3 a.m. with coffee and donuts just because he knew I was having a rough night. This man who was asking me to trust him, to trust us, even when every logical part of my brain was screaming that this was too hard, too uncertain, too painful. Can I see the ring? I asked. Hope flickered in his eyes as he held out the box. I took it, my hands shaking, and pulled out the band. The inscription read, "Brave Together." It's a promise, Jake said softly. When I'm out there fighting fires, being brave, it's because I'm brave together with you. And when you're here, being brave in your own way, living your life, supporting us, you're brave together with me. We don't have to be in the same place to be together. What if something happens to you? The question I'd been avoiding finally escaped. What if you get hurt? What if? What if you get hurt at the hospital? What if I crash on the way to a call? What if 1,000 other things that could happen whether I'm in Montana or sleeping next to you every night? He cupped my face in his hands. We can't live our lives avoiding risk, we just have to decide who we want to take those risks for. The tears finally spilled over. He brushed them away with his thumbs, his touch gentle. I love you, I whispered. I love you so much it terrifies me. Then be terrified with me, he said. Marry me, Mark. Say yes to the scary, messy, complicated version of us. Say yes to video calls and care packages and counting down the days until I come home. Say yes to believing that what we have is strong enough to survive this. I looked down at the ring in my hand, feeling its weight. It was more than just metal and promises, it was a choice. A choice to believe in us, to believe that love could stretch across distances and endure separations. A choice to be brave. Okay, I said. Okay. Yes, ask me properly. A smile broke across his face, the first real smile of the evening. He slid out of his chair and knelt beside the table, taking the ring from my hand. Several nearby diners noticed, pulling out phones, but I didn't care. Marcus James Reeves, he said, his voice clear and strong. Will you marry me? Yes, I said, laughing through my tears. Yes, you crazy, brave, impossible man, I'll marry you. He slid the ring onto my finger and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Jake had probably measured my finger while I was sleeping, probably enlisted my best friend's help, probably planned this moment down to the last detail while I'd been completely oblivious. He kissed me then, in the middle of Giacomo's Italian restaurant with strangers applauding and our cold pasta forgotten on the table. He kissed me like a promise, like a vow, like a man who was already keeping his word to be brave together. When we finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. I leave in 6 weeks, he said. Then we have 6 weeks to plan a wedding, I replied, and to make enough memories to hold me over until you come home. Deal. We stayed at the restaurant for hours, talking through the logistics, the fears, the plans. We'd get married before he left, something small and intimate, just us and our closest friends. We'd video call every day, weather and signal permitting. He'd keep a journal and I'd do the same, and we'd read them together when he returned. We'd make it work because the alternative, a life without each other, was unthinkable. As we walked home that night, hands intertwined, I looked at the ring on my finger catching the streetlights. Tomorrow the fear would probably return. Tomorrow I'd start counting down to goodbye. But tonight I was just a man who'd said yes to the love of his life, who'd chosen bravery over certainty, who decided that some things, some people, were worth fighting for, worth waiting for, worth every moment of fear and longing. Jake squeezed my hand, no regrets. I thought about it honestly. The months ahead would be hard, there would be lonely nights and worried days, there would be moments when I'd resent the distance, when I'd question the choice we'd made. But there would also be reunions that felt like coming home. There would be pride in supporting him, there would be a love story that was uniquely, authentically ours. No regrets, I said. Just hope and love and maybe a little terror. He laughed, pulling me close as we climbed the stairs to our apartment, soon to be just my apartment for 7 months at a time, but always, always our home. That's the spirit, he said, brave together. Brave together, I echoed, and meant it with everything I had.